Hi there, I'm Pete Demetriou. I can't really say what as becoming a journalist I didn't know about Charlie Brailer. I'd wake up in the morning in my home, KFWB would snap on. My dad was a firm believer in the idea you listen to the news before you went to school and work, for the simple reason that you wanted to know what was going on in the world. And there was that voice, that pace, that cadence, that information coming my way. When I got into radio, I somehow wondered maybe I'd meet some of these people. I was in awe of them. And on January 17th, 1985, I walked over to 980. I was a little bit of a loose end. I had spent about 4 weeks between jobs, one of the victims of a merger. But when I interviewed at KFWB, one of the first people who was wandering around in the early morning hours there, about 8:30, 8:45, was this intense, bearded, wonderful guy with an ashtray with a smoke-eating device right next to it that was sucking down fumes like crazy because the health Nazis didn't exist back then. And you could do a lot of things in a newsroom you can't do now. And I just sort of said he looked very intense and looked very busy. And he picked up a box of carts and he walked into the booth. And my jaw went slack because all of a sudden I heard, "It's a very, very good morning. I'm Charlie Brailer," and I just was astounded. This was a legend. This was a man I had been listening to for years. Worked with him in the morning drive. Greg Hable was there also. We always used to. I was astonished how, between Charlie, Greg, and everyone else there, how they managed to get that product on the air and make it sound so flawless, so seamless. And the first time that Charlie really affected my life was about a year later. That morning, I saw Charlie Brailer move faster than I've ever seen a journalist move in his life. From a position in the newsroom to inside the broadcast booth, because Charlie was looking at the television screen on January 28th, 1986, and he said, "My God, it blew up." And he raced in and hit the sounder. The other anchor just deferred as he indicated that Challenger had apparently had an accident. We were all scrambling for information, and I was trying to put stuff together. I was going to get ready to leave the newsroom to go out on a story, or I was assigned in the field, and Greg pointed a finger at me and said, "No, you're on the air at 9, you're going to pick up the story." And I gathered whatever facts I had, which was about enough on a piece of paper, maybe 7 or 10 lines, maybe a little bit of wire copy. The rest of it was streaming live over the air. And about 90 seconds before I went on the air, I realized I had never been in that anchor booth, and I had never done anything like this in my broadcast life. I'd done some 5-minute newscasts. But folks, this was real. This was the biggest story of the decade. And I was somehow being asked to do it, and all of a sudden a voice in me said, "Who the heck are you? Do you think you could do this?" And I walked in, and I felt better in 5 seconds, because across from me was Charlie Brailer. I rolled off the first 2 minutes what I had to say about it, and I didn't have much more. And we switched over to NASA Select and was hearing what was going on. And I looked at Charlie and said, "I don't think I can do this." Charlie looked at me and said, "You're doing fine. Just roll with it. We're going to keep going. People have got to know what happened down there." With no script, with nothing but Charlie to bounce off of, with him giving me information and us back and forth carrying on a conversation, we operated with no script for close to 50 minutes. That's an eternity in radio, especially when you have nothing written down, nothing programmed, nothing to fall back on. I didn't do it that day. I had an angel. I had a gruff, bald-headed, bearded, rock-solid angel on my shoulder. Charlie's humor was infectious. Newsrooms are tense places, all of you know that. But somehow that man's incredibly twisted sense of humor. Most people, when we had our pictures taken to put up in the foyer of KFWB, you could see the faces behind the voices. Most people had real nice pictures. You know, you smile, you pose. I had one with me in a booth. Charlie? No. That's what it was. Honest to God, and you knew right there. This was somebody, and this was something special.
They did get a good one finally, though, and it's sitting right
Finally,
over there.
finally. But that one, that Polaroid up there, every time I passed it, I smiled, and I said, God, if people only knew that beyond the voice, there is this character. There is this person. Charlie has not left KFWB. He's here but not here. We are fortunate. He is fortunate because he is in one industry that, as the pastor pointed out in a different way, there is forever. Hey, Charlie, you're going out there at 12,700,000 miles an hour. You're somewhere past Alpha Centauri and somewhere in the next galaxy, and somebody is hearing you saying it's a very, very good Saturday morning. I'm Charlie Brailer. Charlie, you gave yourself the millions of us here the faith, the hope, the belief that when you spoke, the world was defined a little more clearly and we could get on with our day. Out there, you're telling God knows how many civilizations that there was somebody really special here on earth.